The desert outpost was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that pressed down on a traveler's chest and made every step feel heavier. A lone human named Daniel walked through the narrow street. His boots kicking up pale dust. He had been traveling for days, carrying only a pack of supplies and a worn jacket. He was tired, hungry, and more than anything, he just wanted a place to rest. Most doors in the alien outpost were closed. The few faces he saw peeked quickly from windows before disappearing again. It felt strange, as if the whole town wanted him gone before he even arrived. Daniel sighed and kept moving, his hand brushing the side of an old wall. Then he saw her. She was standing in the shadows near a cracked water well, an alien girl, thin and pale with faint glowing lines across her skin. Her silver eyes shone like glass under the moonlight. She looked at him not with anger or curiosity, but with something else, fear mixed with need. "Stay beside me," she whispered. Her voice was soft but carried through the empty air. "Please don't go." Daniel froze. He had met many travelers in his life, but none who asked a stranger to stay so directly. He looked around, expecting others to appear. But the street was empty, only the two of them remained. I just need rest," Daniel said slowly. "I'll find a place to sleep." "You don't need to." "Stay beside me," she repeated, this time firmer. Her glowing eyes locked on him. Shimmering like liquid silver, there was something behind them, something he could not read. It was not only loneliness, it was something hidden. Daniel felt uneasy, but also curious. Why would an alien girl in a silent outpost ask him, a stranger, to remain near her? He could have walked away, yet his feet did not move. Her gaze held him in place. The wind picked up, carrying a faint hum through the ruined houses. The girl's long hair shifted with it. Her hands trembled slightly, as if she was cold or afraid. "You don't want to be alone?" Daniel asked, keeping his tone gentle. Her lips parted, but she did not answer. Instead, she looked down, the faint light in her eyes flickering. Daniel noticed it then. She never looked directly at him, always shifting her gaze to the side or lowering it, almost as if she feared what might be revealed if she met his eyes too long. The silence between them grew heavier. Daniel felt it pressing into his chest. He glanced at the dark houses around them, wondering why no one else was out. Why was she the only one here? Finally, she whispered again, "Please, stay just for tonight." Her voice cracked. Daniel saw her shoulders trembling as if holding back tears. Against his better judgment, he felt his heart tighten. She was not just lonely, she was desperate. "All right," Daniel said after a long pause. "I'll stay near, but tell me why. What is it that you fear?" For a moment, her eyes lifted, and he thought he saw something in them, a shadow moving behind the silver glow. It made him shiver, as if the night itself breathed through her gaze. But she quickly looked away, wrapping her arms around herself. "It doesn't matter," she murmured. "Just don't leave me alone. If you go, something bad will happen." The way she said it made Daniel's skin prickle. He wanted to ask more, but she shook her head quickly, almost panicked. Her hair fell over her glowing eyes like a curtain, hiding them once more. Daniel took a slow step closer, not too close, but enough to show he was not turning away. "Fine," he said softly. "I'll stay, but you'll have to trust me. If danger comes, I need to know." Her lips curved, not quite a smile, more like relief mixed with sorrow. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Danger is already here. It's inside me." Daniel's heart skipped. He tried to read her eyes again, but she quickly turned away. Her words echoed in his head. He didn't know what she meant, but the fear in her voice was real. The night stretched on. The outpost remained silent. Only the hum of distant winds moved through the ruins. And there they were, a human traveler and an alien girl, bound by a strange request. She had asked him to stay. And though her words sounded simple, her eyes told a different story. They hid a truth that Daniel had not yet seen, but he could feel it waiting, heavy and dark, just beyond the surface. And as he stood there in the cold night, he wondered if he had just stepped into something far greater and far more dangerous than he ever imagined. The night was long, but Daniel stayed. He leaned against the cracked stone wall near the alien girl. His eyes scanned the empty street. Every shadow seemed alive. Every whisper of wind felt like someone breathing too close, yet no one came. The girl sat across from him, her knees pulled close to her chest. She did not speak much, only small words, only small breaths. Every time Daniel tried to ask who she was or why she wanted him near, she looked away. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. but never directly met his gaze. Daniel noticed it again and again. She would glance near him but never at him. Her glowing eyes always slid to the side, down to the ground or into the shadows. It was strange, unnatural even, as if she was afraid of him seeing too much. "Why don't you look at me?" Daniel asked quietly. His voice carried across the silence. The girl flinched, her hands tightened around her legs. For a moment she said nothing. Then, almost too soft to hear, she whispered, "Because you'll know." "Know what?" Daniel asked, leaning forward. His tone was calm but sharp with curiosity. She shook her head quickly, her hair falling across her face like a curtain. Her voice trembled. "If you see, you won't stay." Daniel frowned. He felt the weight of her words pressing against him. He had met liars, thieves, and killers in his journeys, but her voice carried no trick. It carried fear, real fear. "I told you I'd stay," Daniel said firmly. "And I meant it." Her head lowered even more. The faint glow from her eyes leaked between strands of her hair, silver light flashing like hidden fire. He felt an uneasy chill crawl up his spine. The outpost around them stayed silent, too silent. Even the houses looked wrong, like their windows were eyes watching him. Daniel's instincts screamed that something in this place was not natural. But the girl kept him anchored. Hours passed. The moons above shifted in the sky, casting longer shadows across the broken walls. Daniel stayed awake. He was used to danger, used to sleeping with one eye open. But this was different. The danger here was not outside. It was right in front of him. Hidden in her gaze, at one point he noticed something. Whenever she looked at him, even for a second, her glowing eyes flickered. The light in them trembled as if a storm lived inside. And in those brief flickers, Daniel thought he saw shapes, shadows moving within her pupils. "What are you?" he whispered before he could stop himself. The girl stiffened. Her eyes dropped immediately to the dirt. "Don't ask," she said, her voice sharp now, almost desperate. But Daniel pressed on. "You begged me to stay. You said danger is already here. Inside you. If I don't ask, how can I protect you?" She froze, her breathing quickened. He could see her chest rising and falling too fast. Her hands trembled where they gripped her knees. Finally she whispered, "You can't protect me. You can only choose to leave or to be destroyed with me." Her words struck him hard. Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to demand answers, but the look on her face stopped him. She was not threatening him, she was warning him. The silence stretched again, but this time heavier. Daniel shifted his weight, trying to think. The desert wind howled between the buildings, carrying dust and faint echoes like whispers. He couldn't shake the feeling that the whole outpost avoided her for a reason. Still, he remembered her trembling voice when she begged him not to leave. He remembered her eyes flickering with hidden storms. He remembered the fear that shook her words. "And he made a choice. I won't leave," Daniel said firmly. His voice cut through the silence like steel. "Not until I understand. Not until you tell me the truth." For the first time, she lifted her head slowly. Her hair fell aside, and her silver eyes locked onto his. Daniel froze. The glow inside them was not just light. It was alive. Silver fire swirled like liquid metal, and deep within, shadows moved like figures trapped behind glass. He felt something reach toward him, cold and ancient, whispering in a tongue he could not hear, but somehow felt inside his bones. He almost stepped back, but forced himself to stay. His heart pounded in his chest, his throat dry. His instinct screamed at him to look away. But he did not. He refused. Her lips parted slightly, and for a brief second he thought she might cry. Instead she whispered, "Now you've seen." The glow in her eyes dimmed suddenly. She turned away, hiding them again with her hands. Her whole body shook as if she carried a storm inside. Daniel stood still, breathing hard, his chest heavy with fear, but also with something else. Pity. She was not a monster. He could see it in her trembling form. She was a prisoner, trapped in something she could not control. He sat down closer, his voice steady. "I've seen, but I'm still here." Her shoulders shook harder. A faint sound escaped her lips, not quite a sob, not quite a laugh. Somewhere between despair and relief. The night grew colder. The moons shifted again. Daniel knew the truth was still hidden. He had only touched the edge of it. But one thing was clear. Her eyes were not just hiding fear. They were hiding something dangerous, something powerful, and now that he had seen, he could never turn away. The hours dragged on. The night in the desert outpost felt endless. Daniel stayed close, his back against the wall of a ruined house. The alien girl sat nearby, her face hidden behind her hair, her glowing eyes covered by trembling hands. Daniel's mind raced. He had seen something in her gaze. Something alive, something dangerous. Shadows behind silver light, whispers without sound. It shook him, but it also pulled him deeper. He knew he should have left, yet something inside him refused. She had asked him not to go, and now he couldn't. The wind grew stronger. Carrying a low hum through the streets, Daniel shifted uneasily. It was not only the wind, he was sure of it. The sound seemed to follow them, circling the ruins. Then it came, a whisper, soft, broken, but clear enough to freeze the blood in his veins. Daniel. His name spoken in the dark. He turned quickly, eyes scanning the shadows, but the street was empty. The girl had not moved. He swallowed hard. "Did you hear that?" he asked. The girl's head lowered further. Her voice shook. "Ignore it!" That voice, Daniel started. But she cut him off sharply. "Ignore it," she repeated. This time louder, her tone cracked with fear. The whisper came again, curling through the night like smoke. "Daniel." It was not a human voice, not even an alien voice. It was something between, broken, layered, as if many mouths spoke together. Daniel's breath quickened. He stood slowly, his hand moving to the small blade he carried. "What is that?" he demanded. The girl lifted her head just enough for him to see the faint glow leaking between her fingers. Her eyes were covered, but the light pushed through, flickering like fire. "It comes when I am weak," she whispered. "It comes because you looked." Daniel's skin prickled. "What do you mean it comes? What is inside you?" Her shoulders shook violently. She whispered something in a language he didn't know. Soft and fast, the words hissed like air escaping from a broken pipe. He didn't understand them, but he felt them deep inside his chest. His heartbeat stumbled. His breath grew heavy. "Stop," Daniel said. But his voice came out weaker than he intended. The whispers in the air grew louder, swirling now around him, filling the street with unseen voices. They spoke words he couldn't understand, but every syllable scraped at his bones like claws. The girl pressed her forehead against her knees, her body shaking as if she was trying to hold something inside. "Don't listen," she begged, her voice breaking. "It lies. It always lies." Daniel clenched his fists, his head throbbed with the voices. His vision blurred, he forced his eyes to her, focusing only on her trembling form. "What are they?" he shouted. "What do they want?" She looked up then, her glowing eyes uncovered for only a heartbeat. The storm inside them raged, silver light flashing with black shadows swirling like smoke. "They want you," she whispered. "They always want the ones who see." Daniel felt the air crush against him. The whispers pressed closer. He staggered back, his blade shaking in his hand. His throat tightened as if unseen hands were gripping it. The girl crawled toward him, her own voice breaking as she fought the storm inside. "Stay with me," she begged. "If you leave me now, they'll take you." Her words cut through the storm. Daniel forced himself to focus. His chest heaved as he dragged in air. His grip on the blade steadied. He looked into her glowing eyes again, and though terror filled him, he did not look away. "Then let them try," he said through clenched teeth. The whispers faltered. The voices hissed. The shadows in her eyes flickered and drew back slightly. Daniel felt the grip on his chest loosen. His lungs burned as air rushed back in. The girl fell back, gasping. Her eyes dimmed, the glow fading to a faint shimmer. She shook her head in disbelief. "You shouldn't have survived that," she whispered. "No one ever does." Daniel knelt beside her, still breathing hard, his voice rough but steady. "I'm not leaving you." Her hands trembled as she touched the dirt floor. "You don't understand," she whispered. "The more you stay, the stronger they become. Every time you look into me, they grow. They will destroy you." "Too." Daniel placed his hand on the ground near hers, not touching but close enough for her to feel his presence. "Then we fight them together." For the first time, her glowing eyes lifted to him without hiding. She stared at him, tears forming at the corners. Her voice broke. "No one ever stayed. No one ever tried." The whispers had gone quiet, the night falling into uneasy silence. The only sound was the girl's broken breathing and the pounding of Daniel's heart. Above them, the moon sank lower, shadows stretching longer across the ruins. But Daniel knew one thing with certainty now. The girl's secret was darker than he imagined. The whispers in the dark were real and they were coming for him, and yet, even with the fear clawing at him, he did not step away. He stayed beside her, knowing that his choice bound him to whatever truth her eyes still hid. The night dragged into silence again. The whispers had faded, but Daniel could still feel them, like an echo pressed into his bones. His heart was heavy, his body tense, every instinct told him to leave. But when he looked at the alien girl trembling on the ground, he knew he would not. She sat with her knees pulled close. Her glowing eyes dimmed. Her breathing was shallow. Her silver skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight. And then Daniel saw it for the first time. The strands of her hair shifted aside, and beneath her collarbone something pulsed, a mark. It glowed faintly like a living flame, spreading in lines across her chest like veins of molten silver. It was not a scar, not paint, not natural. It moved alive beneath her skin. Daniel's breath caught. He had seen strange things on his travels, but nothing like this. What is that? Daniel asked, his voice sharp. The girl froze. Her hands immediately rose to cover the mark. Her glowing eyes widened with fear. You weren't supposed to see, she whispered. Her voice breaking, Daniel leaned closer, ignoring the chill that crept down his spine. It's moving, he said quietly. What is it? Her lips trembled. She shook her head. A curse, she whispered. A prison. A wound I can never heal. Daniel frowned. A curse? From who? Her body shook harder. She pressed her hands tighter against her chest, hiding the mark from his sight. If I speak it, they'll hear. They always hear. Daniel remembered the whispers from before. The way they clawed into his skull. He clenched his fists. He did not like fighting what he could not see. But something about that mark made sense now. The voices, the fear, the reason no one in the outpost came near her. It was all connected, then show me, he said firmly. His voice carried through the night like steel. If I'm going to stay, I need to know the truth. She shook her head, her hair falling across her glowing eyes. Her lips pressed tight, but Daniel could see her trembling, not only from fear, but from exhaustion. The fight inside her was tearing her apart. Slowly, she lowered her hands. The mark revealed itself again. The glowing veins pulsed with every beat of her heart, silver and black light twisting together like two forces at war. It spread across her chest, curling down her arms, faint but alive. Daniel's breath caught. It looked like chains of fire crawling beneath her skin, tightening with every breath she took. What did they do to you? Daniel whispered. Her glowing eyes lifted to him, filled with pain. I was chosen, she said softly. Not for honor, not for greatness. Chosen to be a vessel, they carved the mark into me. And it never leaves. Daniel's stomach twisted. A vessel, the word chilled him. He looked at the mark again, realizing it was not just a wound, it was alive. You mean those whispers, that darkness?
It's inside you?
She nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. Yes, they put it there to keep it locked, but the mark is breaking. And now they want out. Daniel felt the weight of her words sink deep. If what she said was true, then she carried something ancient, something deadly. Her glowing eyes, the whispers in the night, the fear of the outpost, it all pointed to this truth. She was not just a girl, she was a prison. The silence grew heavy again. Daniel clenched his jaw. He wanted to curse the ones who had done this to her. Whoever had chosen her, whoever had marked her, had thrown her into chains worse than death. The girl's shoulders shook as she whispered, Do you see why I told you not to stay? You should run before it consumes us both. Daniel stepped closer instead. His eyes burned with determination. No, I won't leave you. You're not the curse, you're not the prison. You're the one suffering, and no one deserves to suffer alone. Her glowing eyes widened, silver light flickering as if shaken by his words. For a moment she stared at him. Her lips parted. Her voice came out broken. Why?
Why do you care?
You don't even know me. Daniel's voice was steady, sharp as stone. Because I've seen enough to know what it feels like when no one stands beside you. Her tears spilled then, glowing faintly as they rolled down her cheeks. She lowered her head, clutching at the burning mark. The silver veins pulsed faster, reacting to her emotions. Daniel could see the storm building inside her. The wind howled suddenly, stronger than before. Dust swirled in the streets. The outpost creaked and moaned as if alive. Daniel looked around. He could feel it. The whispers were returning, drawn by the mark's rising energy. The girl gasped, her body tensing. Her glowing eyes flared with light. The mark on her skin burned brighter, silver veins twisting violently as if something beneath was pushing outward. They're coming, she whispered in terror. I can't hold it back. Daniel gripped his blade tightly. His heartbeat roared in his ears. He had faced enemies before, but this was different. This was not a fight against flesh and blood. This was a battle against something bound within her soul. He stepped forward, planting himself between her and the darkness that crept closer. His voice cut through the chaos. "Then let them come. I'm not leaving you." Her glowing eyes met his again, and for the first time they did not turn away. The truth in them was raw, fear, pain, but also a small flicker of hope. The mark pulsed violently, casting silver light across the ruins, and in that moment, Daniel realized the choice he had made was no longer about staying or leaving. It was about standing against whatever horror her mark would unleash. Because her secret was no longer hidden, the mark had revealed itself, and the night would never be the same again. The first light of dawn crept over the desert outpost, painting the cracked walls with pale gold. Daniel had not slept, his eyes were heavy, but his mind was sharper than ever. The memory of the mark burning across the alien girl's chest haunted him. Its glow, its movement, the whispers it drew from the night, none of it left his thoughts. The girl sat in silence near the well, her shoulders slumped. Her glowing eyes were dull now, as if drained. The mark beneath her skin pulsed faintly, not as fierce as the night before, but still alive. She looked fragile, almost broken. Daniel stepped toward her, his voice low. "Are you all right?" She did not answer, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her gaze fixed on the ground. She seemed afraid even of speaking, afraid that words might summon the voices again. Before Daniel could say more, movement stirred at the edge of the street. Shadows stretched as figures approached. 3 alien guards, tall and armored, their faces hidden behind masks carved with symbols. Each carried a staff that glowed faintly at the tip. Daniel tensed immediately. His hand moved toward the blade at his side. The girl looked up sharply, her glowing eyes widening in fear. "No," she whispered. "Don't fight them." The guards stopped several paces away. Their presence filled the street with heavy silence. One of them spoke, his voice echoing behind the mask. "Human." "Step away from her." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Why?" "She is cursed," the guard said flatly. "No one may stay near her. You risk death and worse." Daniel's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. "Then why is she here at all? If she's cursed, why not free her?" The guard's grip tightened on his staff. "She cannot be freed. She is marked. She belongs to the Order. Her fate is sealed. Step away, or share in her doom." The girl lowered her head, shame burning in her trembling hands. Daniel saw the way she tried to hide herself, as if she had heard these words countless times before, as if this was all she had ever been told. Cursed, doomed, untouchable. Anger burned in Daniel's chest. He stepped forward, his voice sharp. "She's not a curse, she's a person. She needs help. Not chains." The guards shifted uneasily, their glowing staffs hummed with power. The leader's voice grew colder. "You do not understand, human. That mark she bears is no simple wound. It holds what must never be released. If she grows weak, if she falters, the whispers will spread. They will consume all. Would you risk your kind for her?" Daniel felt the weight of those words. He had heard the whispers, felt their grip in his chest. The guards were not lying about the danger. But when he looked at the girl, her glowing eyes dimmed with sorrow, her body trembling as if she carried the weight of 1,000 chains, he knew what his answer was. "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "If the choice is between leaving her alone to suffer or standing with her, I'll take the risk." The guard stiffened. Silence hung for a moment. Then the leader lowered his staff, his tone sharper now. "Then you are a fool, human. Do not say we did not warn you. When the darkness takes her, it will take you as well." With that, the guards turned. Their heavy steps echoed through the empty street as they vanished into the morning haze. They did not strike him, they did not drag her away. They only left their warning like a blade hanging over his neck. The girl exhaled shakily, her glowing eyes lifted toward Daniel, shimmering with tears. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you speak against them?" "They are right, I am dangerous." Daniel knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Because they're wrong about one thing. You're not just dangerous. You're human." "No," he corrected quickly. "You're alive, and that means you deserve someone to fight for you." Her lips trembled. A tear slipped down her silver cheek. Glowing faintly in the dawn, she shook her head slowly. "No one has ever said that to me." Daniel reached out but stopped just short of touching her. He did not want to break the fragile trust she offered. His voice softened. "Then I'll be the first." The girl closed her eyes. her shoulders trembling as if the weight of her mark pressed harder now. Daniel saw how fragile she was, how much pain she carried. The guards had called her a curse, but he saw only a prisoner. The sun rose higher, casting long shadows through the ruins. For a brief moment the silence returned, peaceful. But Daniel knew it was only the calm before the storm. The girl whispered then, her voice so low he almost didn't hear. "They watch because they are afraid. But soon it won't matter, the mark is breaking faster." "I can feel it," Daniel clenched his fists. His resolve burned sharper than ever. He looked into her glowing eyes, silver light flickering with both fear and hope. "Then we'll face it together," he said. Her lips parted as if to protest, but she stopped. The words died on her tongue. Instead, she lowered her head. A single tear falling, she whispered, Maybe I don't have to be alone anymore." And though the guards had gone, Daniel could feel their presence still, watching from the shadows, waiting for the moment she would break. He knew the true battle had not yet begun. The watchers had warned him. They had left her marked. They had chosen to turn their backs and let her rot in fear. But Daniel would not. He had made his choice, and as the sun bathed the outpost in harsh light, Daniel knew the darkness was closer than ever, creeping beneath her skin, waiting for its chance. The girl's alien eyes shimmered in the morning glow. Hiding truths he still had not uncovered, but he had already decided. He would not leave, not now, not ever. The sun climbed higher over the desert outpost, but the warmth did nothing to ease the cold inside Daniel's chest. He had stood against the guards. He had seen the mark burning under her skin, and still he stayed. Yet one truth remained locked behind her eyes, the very thing she was most afraid to show. The alien girl sat quietly by the cracked well, her glowing eyes fixed on the dust. She hadn't spoken since the guards left. Her silver skin shimmered faintly, but her shoulders sagged as if carrying a weight too heavy to bear. Daniel walked closer, his boots crunching softly against the ground. "You've told me part of it," he said gently. "The mark, the whispers, the curse." He paused, his voice firm now. "But I need to know all of it. I need the truth behind your eyes." Her head lowered further. Her trembling hands clutched the edge of her torn cloak. "No," she whispered. "If you know, you won't stay. You'll fear me like they all do." Daniel crouched down to her level, his gaze steady. "Maybe I'll fear, but I won't leave. I'm still here, aren't I?" Her glowing eyes flickered. She turned her face slightly toward him. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, a faint shimmer appeared across her skin. The mark beneath her collarbone pulsed harder. Its glow traveled upward as if pushing toward her eyes. Daniel felt it before he saw it. A strange pressure in the air, thick and heavy. The silence of the outpost deepened as though the world itself was holding its breath. He whispered, "Show me." The girl's body trembled. She shook her head once, twice, then stopped. Finally, her voice cracked. "Don't blame me," she whispered, and lifted her gaze fully to his. Daniel's breath caught for the first time. He saw the truth without barriers. Her alien eyes blazed with silver light, not just glowing but alive. Inside them shadows writhed and swirled, forming shapes, figures, faces twisted in agony. Their mouths moved though no sound escaped. Trapped in a storm of light and darkness, Daniel staggered back a step. His chest tightened as though invisible hands clawed at his heart. His blade hand shook, not from weakness but from the sheer force of what he was seeing. It was not just power, it was prison, she gasped, clutching her chest as if the mark in her eyes were tearing her apart. "They put them here," she cried softly. "Spirits, voices, fragments of something ancient. They cut them into me, bound them in my blood. That's why the whispers never stop." Daniel's head spun. The truth was worse than he had imagined. She was not cursed by chance, she was made this way, turned into a vessel by those who claimed to protect their world. Her glowing eyes dimmed for a moment, but he could still see the storm inside them. A sea of shadows clawing for release, she whispered. "When you looked into me, they reached for you. They wanted to leave me, to take you. That's why no one stays. That's why everyone fears me." Daniel's jaw clenched. His heart hammered. He could feel the lingering pressure of the voices. But he forced himself to breathe through it. He met her gaze, even when his instincts screamed at him to turn away. "You're not the curse," Daniel said firmly. "You're the prison they built. They chained you with their fear and left you to suffer. That's not your fault." Her eyes widened, tears shining in the glow. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If the mark..." Breaks completely. If my eyes lose control, they will all escape, and everything near me will die. The silence between them grew thick. Daniel's chest tightened. The danger was real, he had felt it. The whispers had nearly crushed him. If they broke free, they could destroy entire worlds. But when he looked at her, trembling, broken, desperate for someone not to run, his choice was already made. Then we won't let it break, he said firmly. His voice cut through the fear like steel. If you're fighting them alone, then I'll fight with you. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. Her breath caught. Her glowing eyes flickered wildly. The storm inside them stilled for the briefest moment. As if even the voices listened, she whispered. No one has ever said that. Daniel gave a small, tired smile. Then they were cowards because I see you, not them. Her tears fell freely now, glowing silver as they slid down her cheeks. Her trembling hands covered her face, and for the first time since he met her, she did not hide her eyes out of shame. But out of release, the outpost remained silent. But the air shifted lighter somehow, as though the truth itself had been waiting to be spoken aloud. Daniel sat beside her, letting the weight of his choice settle. He knew the danger was real. He knew the whispers would return. He knew the mark would burn again. But he also knew this: he would not abandon her, not when she needed him most. And as her glowing eyes dimmed back to their soft light, Daniel realized something else too. The truth behind her eyes was not only pain and danger, it was trust, fragile but growing. She had shown him everything, and still he stayed. The storm inside her had not won yet, and as long as he stayed beside her, maybe it never would. The day dragged on, but peace never came. Daniel stayed close to the alien girl, but he could feel it. Something in the air was shifting. The mark on her chest pulsed stronger with every passing hour, and the storm inside her glowing eyes returned in waves. She sat by the ruined well, her arms wrapped around herself. Her silver skin gleamed faintly. Her voice was weak, almost broken. It's getting worse, she whispered. I can't hold them much longer. Daniel knelt in front of her, his voice steady though his heart raced. Then we'll face it. Together, her glowing eyes lifted to his, trembling with fear. You don't understand, she said. If they break free, you'll die. Everyone will die. I can feel them tearing at me, begging to escape. They don't just want freedom, they want blood. Daniel tightened his jaw. He had heard the whispers. He had felt their claws scraping his chest. He knew she was right, but leaving her was not an option. Not now. Not after everything. The silence of the outpost broke suddenly. Heavy steps echoed through the streets. Daniel turned sharply, his hand moved to his blade. 3 guards appeared again, but this time not to warn. Their staffs glowed brighter, their masked faces grim. The leader's voice rang out cold. Human, it ends now. Step away from her. She must be destroyed before the mark breaks. Before the whispers consume us all, the girl gasped, pressing her hands to her chest, her glowing eyes filled with panic. No, she whispered. Please, don't let them. Daniel rose to his feet, his stance wide, blade drawn. His voice cut through the air. If you want her, you'll go through me. The guards shifted, their staffs crackling with energy. The leader spoke again. Fool, she's not a girl. She is a vessel, a prison of shadows. You cannot save her. You can only save yourself. Daniel's grip on his blade tightened. His eyes blazed with determination. She is not just a vessel. She is alive. She matters. If you call her a prison, then I'll break the chains. If you call her cursed, then I'll share her curse. The guards advanced. But before they struck, the girl cried out. Her body arched. The mark across her chest blazed with silver fire. Her glowing eyes flared wide, and the whispers returned louder than ever, filling the outpost with 1,000 broken voices. The guards froze. Their staffs shook in their hands. Even they who had trained to resist staggered back. The whispers clawed into their minds, their masks cracked with light. Daniel forced himself forward, his heart pounded. His head roared with the voices. But he refused to fall. He pushed through the storm, dropping his blade and placing both hands on her shoulders. Look at me, he shouted above the chaos. Not at them, not at the whispers, at me. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. Silver storms raged inside, shadows clawed. But his voice cut through. His presence steadied her trembling form. They don't own you, Daniel said firmly. You're not their prison, you're not their curse. You are you, and I see you. Not them. Tears spilled from her silver eyes, glowing as they fell. The mark across her chest flickered violently, silver fire clashing with black smoke beneath her skin. She screamed, but this time not in fear. In defiance, the ground shook. Dust rained from the broken houses. The whispers shrieked in fury, clawing at Daniel's chest, but he did not let go. His voice broke through again, raw and unyielding. "You asked me to stay beside you," he shouted. "And I will, no matter what comes, I choose you." Her trembling hands rose, clutching his arms, her glowing eyes locked with his. The storm inside them slowed, the shadows recoiled. The Mark's burning light dimmed slightly, as if his words reached through the chains binding her. The guards fell to their knees, their staffs darkening. Their masked faces turned away, unable to withstand the storm. One of them whispered in disbelief. "Impossible." The girl gasped for air, her body shaking. Her glowing eyes softened, shimmering with tears and light. "You shouldn't have done this," she whispered weakly. "You've doomed yourself." Daniel shook his head. "No, I've freed us both." The whispers shrieked one last time before fading. The air fell still. The Mark dimmed to a faint shimmer, no longer burning with wildfire. The storm inside her eyes quieted, leaving only silver light and the faint trace of hope. The girl collapsed forward and Daniel caught her in his arms. She trembled but no longer shook with the force of the whispers. Her voice was soft, fragile. Why did you stay?" Daniel's grip tightened gently around her, his voice low but steady. "Because no one should fight alone. Because you are more than what they made you. Because I chose you." Her tears touched his chest. Glowing faintly as they fell, she closed her eyes, her breathing slow but steady. For the first time since he had met her, she looked at peace. The guards rose unsteadily, their voices hushed with fear. The human silenced them. He broke their hold. Daniel ignored them. His focus stayed on her, the girl who had begged him not to leave. The girl whose eyes hid the truth. He had seen the storm and still stayed. He had chosen her. The desert outpost was silent again, but it was no longer the silence of fear. It was the silence after a storm, fragile, waiting, but alive. Daniel knew the whispers might return one day. The Mark might burn again, but when it did, she would not face it alone, not anymore, because he had made his choice and his choice was her.